From WDWNT, the worldwide leader in Disney Parks news, this is ParksCenter. Hello there, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of ParksCenter. Joining me on tonight's show, we have Allison.
Hello, hello.
Tyler.
I just wanted to do a cool turn. Anyways.
Nathan.
Oh, Kundaloosh, everybody.
And Pete.
Steve Ocko.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to follow that one up, I guess. Starting off tonight's show, we are going over to the Haunted Mansion, specifically in Disneyland, to celebrate its 50th anniversary. We had some neat stuff happen. Like, there was some special decor on the outside, and if you take a look at the inside here, we had live actors inside the mansion. Like, I think this is amazingly cool. This is something that just they didn't need to do this, and then they did it. This does not feel like the Disney parks I know.
From the last couple of years.
I'm so happy with this.
Let's just jump right in. We're so used to the last few years, we're saying they didn't need to do this. Yes, they did. This is what they should be doing. This is fun. It's exciting. Oh, no. My fire alarm's going off again. I'll be back. Fire department allows me. I'll be back before that. I love you.
I'm gonna jump in here.
Okay.
We should be doing this, but the price point on this was $300 per person, so that is a lot.
Yeah.
But they delivered because, like, the live actors in the mansion, amazing. They did like a Phantasmic level night show also, and you should all watch the video from that because it is phenomenal. There's choreography in it, and projections, and all amazing things that really remind you what Disneyland is capable of doing when they put on a show. And now this is like a temporary special event show, and yet, if I could just jump back to 2 months ago when they put on a Lion King show and did none of these things, and that was a much more permanent addition. This is where we're going here. This is unbelievable. And also, what I really appreciate about this, they made it themed specifically to New Orleans Square. So since I'm from New Orleans, or living in New Orleans now, one of the things they did was like a second line parade with a casket, and people had the umbrellas, and they had a full marching band going through with or brass band going through, doing like a real second line, and it was true to the theming of New Orleans Square and also the mansion. And I'm a huge mansion fan, and it's so cool. 50 more years.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a really good thing. I don't have anything against it. I mean, 300 is a lot of money, and I guess you have to make it at a price point where you don't, like, I don't know, like completely, fill the place to the gills, I guess. I think it may be a little more than necessary price-wise, but at the same time, this is sort of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and it's really, really cool. I always feel sort of sad for, like, Magic Kingdom, because it's like, these sort of classic original attractions, we never get the same level of anniversary for things when it comes to Florida. We have our own history, but this is great, and I'm excited. If that's what they did for this, I'm sure Pirates will also see something coming up. And it does put an interesting onus, though, on how they will do stuff for, say, Magic Kingdom's 50th. If they'll do this much for, a ride, a very, very, probably the greatest ride they have in the sense of fandom, I'm excited to see what they're going to do then when it comes to doing a whole park. So we'll see if it's probably a different team in doing all of it in entertainment, but there's definitely a bar that's sort of been set of like, oh yeah, you can do this stuff. There's no reason you can't do this. So hopefully they'll keep up the quality.
The roof is on. We're
just
safe.
really quick. Speaking of underwhelming park anniversaries, but anyways, I think a lot of creative people had a lot of hands in making this. and they were clearly given a budget to do something really awesome, and they picked a few really intimate experiences that would be really, really good for that. This is one of those rare things where we actually have something super positive to say, right?
Yeah, I love it. Like, I mean, this show does talk a lot of negative, but like, we don't want. Like, I love talking positive when we can. This is terrific.
Speak for yourselves.
Yeah, I love the fact that we get a positive story out of the blue, and then Pete's fire alarm goes off. It's like, well, you're not taking part in this one.
What are the odds?
Yeah.
Sorry, we need Pete for the negative stories to bring it up.
Well, speaking of negatives, let's go over to film and talk about projection technology for a minute. Why
is that negative?
A stretch. Negative film negatives. You get it?
Film negative for a digital projection. I don't think this is a very bad transition.
Well, we got rid of them.
This is another positive story.
We're not bad.
We're very interruptive. Go ahead, Dad. I mean, Ben, tell us about it.
So we have some new scenes, some new narration during this part of the ride where you're kind of just looking at screens, and it's this new digital projection stuff that is far less likely to get out of sync.
It's so pretty.
It looks great. Like, these are just pictures. It doesn't do it justice, but I can imagine that this looks really nice.
This poor attraction for the last 6 months, maybe a year at this point, has had weird purple squares on the last projector. Like, it was all very poor. It feels like it's been a while. I think it's been several months of that. It's been on our maintenance report even. And then Katie and I were on it a while back. It was about the week before they added this video, and she was like, everything's out of sync. She knows, of course, it's her favorite ride. She knows when things are said when, and she's like, that's not what's going on, this is off, because of course they say things like in this country, and it was not that country, so they must have been working on it at that point. And this new thing is so cool. I'm gonna miss my 1993 Epcot interns doing sciencey things in the video, but at the same time, this is long overdue, and it's a ride that you can't really update very much. There's this, and then if they would love to change that weird sunburnt sort of sign before you enter the main greenhouse, I'd love that too, because it looks like garbage. So this is a good sign. I hope that this is an acknowledgement that Living with the Land is fine. I think it kind of, we've talked in the past about rumors of stuff happening in the future.
Yeah.
And at least this suggests that they're willing to maintain it a little bit longer. And I hope so. I love this ride, so no issues for me.
I think the opposite. I think somebody heard that there was a rumor that the land might be going away, and they thought, quick, how can we make it appear like we still care about this? Update those projectors. It's mostly a joke.
I mean, the projectors were trash. So they needed to be fixed, period. But
listen, guys,
I think there's enough time.
So good. This is so good. It means they still care, especially care about the non-IP rides, which is very exciting. There's no IPs with the land. It's something that it's one of those old school rides. So the fact that they care, they're giving it some budget, some time. Granted, it was very little. It never took much to do this. It just makes me happy, makes my heart happy. Love Living with the Land. Love the original pavilion. So thank you, Disney. I appreciate you.
Like you just said it. Like, this isn't something they had to do, but it's something they did do. So that's what gets me. Is like this was not a big deal. It wasn't that expensive, but they could have just gotten away with not touching it, and we would have continued to quietly whine in the corner. Really, but they put forth the effort to do this, and I love it.
Guys, we're 2 for 2 so far. This is amazing.
Yeah, this is going good. Hopefully it means Marvel Land's going to be good too, right?
We don't decide what's negative on the show. Disney does. Let's put it like that.
That's fair. So we have a layout of the Marvel Land that's coming to DCA, and we've got this nice little overlay point net where everything's going to be going. We've also got some concept art that we drew up. I mean, found that we can show you folks. It's a joke, yes. That shows some of the details of the queue, the pre-show, the ride vehicles we already showed you folks, and then some details from the ride itself, which it looks like there are definitely splits and options for where you go in this attraction, so it doesn't look like this will be the same thing every time, which is going to be really neat. And I'm honestly very excited for this land as a whole. I don't know if I'm going to make a trip out to Disneyland for this explicitly, but I'm thinking it.
Well, as the community Marvel expert, let me jump in here. Say microbrewery? Because I'm on board. I've never seen Ant-Man and the Wasp. Yeah, that's right. I haven't. But I am psyched. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to try those microbrews. On a serious note, again, they have to bring IPs into the park. Bob Iger actually talked about it this week on one of the shows where he was talking about how Star Wars Land missed and yada, yada, yada. But he's talking about how they're building on IP. So the fact that now Disney has Marvel and they can do more with it, especially on the West Coast, it's exciting. I'm happy for Disney. I'm happy for the fans. Disney's California Adventure is turning into a really, really awesome park. So let that be on record. You guys go ahead. Talk all about Paul Rudd. I love that guy.
It's only taken decades for California Adventure to start looking like a theme park. And being unique. This is fine. I like, it's really hard to know. This is definitely like I think some sort of screen-based, something that's going to be between you and what's going on. I mean, there's not a lot of stuff in this concept art that showcases movement or areas where there could be movement. I'm very concerned based on what we saw from the Ant-Man ride over in Shanghai, right? Was it Shanghai, I believe?
I think that's right.
It's a lapse in
or was it Hong Kong, actually?
I cannot remember. I'm sorry. But my main point here is I like how we're Googling live for you at Hong Kong.
Yeah, that's Hong Kong.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So
sorry about
that. My main point is that ride it seems to be pretty much garbage. There's nothing that moves except some screens that show off Paul Rudd and his beautiful face. So if that is what they consider to be a Marvel ride, I'm a little concerned. So we'll see. It's early days. I want to love it. Tom Holland's Spider-Man is the best Spider-Man movies we've had. So I want the best.
Yeah. I'm kind of hopeful that the tracks that they show the multiple places where the ride vehicle could go, that it's not randomized and that in the car can choose which direction to go.
Majority
a la like a
majority rules
style kind of thing. Yeah, well, that's how Horizons worked. Kind of like in your ride vehicle you picked, and that shows your entrance. I wonder if this is an updated version of that, and I would prefer that to a randomized thing. It's not something we're seeing a lot of now.
Yeah, that would be sweet to have some control over the ride.
Yeah.
Moving without transition over to Reflections at Disney Lakeside Lounge. That is just such a mouthful. Whoever thought of that? Like, come on, please.
Keyword salad.
A nursing home.
Yeah, I feel like we keep flipping back and forth between this being a nursing home and this being a rehab facility. Like,
I did say it should be in Slack the other day. I called it Uncle Waldo's Memorial Rehabilitation Center.
I can't even listen to you. I am so excited about this.
Allison, please.
Allison, bring the positive.
Guys, this is like Falling Water, but updated. It's beautiful. It's a Frank Lloyd Wright masterpiece in there with Pocahontas. I don't know how anybody doesn't like this. I think it looks gorgeous, and I was a huge fan of River Country. I went all the time, but like from the outside here, that very much looks Frank Lloyd Wright-ish to me, and then the inside is like beautiful, and it has movement in the design. It looks really organic, but it's still like clean and updated, and something that I think people are looking for now when they come into a hotel. So I don't understand all the shade, guys.
I think it's the name more than anything. Like, I don't have an issue with this artwork. I think it's the name. The name makes me laugh. This is a terrible name. This This sort of looks a little Google-ish, like the
a little bit
kind of the yachts, or what do they call them? The little domey areas for people to sit and that sort of stuff.
That makes me think it's a startup company. Now I can't unsee that.
Yep, it does. It's got the foosball table.
Yeah. There's steel beams and wood. It just feels like something you'd find in like Toronto. And it's like, hey guys, welcome to our like tech startup. It doesn't. I don't know. It's supposed to be like lakeside, but Wilderness Lodge feels more like a lakeside kind of like cabin thing. More than this, which just feels like, it just feels like tech startup, the hotel. Oh, and there's Pocahontas.
My concern, of course, is concept art is always. Yeah, like my problem is like concept art is usually the best version of something. It's like there's all the frills, and like if this is the version with all the frills, it's pretty, but I'm not like amazed, and then I'm worried that it's gonna get like, oh well, Mr. Chapek, I guess we can get rid of the weird little stuff, and like, oh yeah, sure, like Pocahontas statue can, be bigger.
Everything changed when the budget cuts attacked.
You know what you can't see though in that is what the view is going to be through that enormous pane of windows.
Yeah, agreed.
And so I think that's going to be the wow factor, and that's what's important. Is something that's highlighting the highlighting nature and highlighting the wilderness is when you go in there and you actually see the leaves and the trees and the lake outside. I think that's what's going to make it.
Yeah. And there's going to be a restaurant on Bay Lake, so I think that'll be really pretty.
Pete, you okay?
No, I was just excited to talk about this, but now there's 15 seconds. But, so yeah, that's everything I was going to say. I was going to say, I think one of the most beautiful things you can do at Walt Disney World, and tell people all the time, is to take the boat ride from Fort Wilderness or Wilderness Lodge to the Magic Kingdom. Especially during sunset or sunrise, because that is one of the most beautiful views. The sun comes up, well, it actually sets right almost behind the castle. So those window views are going to be insane. I had a lot of other funny jokes, but I'll just go on another show and talk about it one day. That's
it. Story of my life, Pete.
Oh,
I know. You can't have me and Nathan on the same show, because Nathan's going to talk forever. I'm going to talk loud forever. And then Tyler's so polite because he's Canadian, and then poor Allison is just left with the scraps. It's unfair. It's unfair. Me and Nathan should take turns on stories. But anyway, let's talk about new costumes.
You know what else is unfair? The fact that we keep getting rid of good things. It's like there had to come a point in tonight's show where we talked about something that we didn't like, and I hope I'm not alone in saying that generic cast costumes are something that we really shouldn't be moving towards.
This is the worst. Epcot is so known for its amazing costumes, and every country, every attraction has like its own feel that blends well with how it looks and the color schemes. I've been to costuming. I've been to the costuming department. It's beautiful. There's so much stuff there. And then to see just this ugly teal and gray, that is the worst hat I've ever seen. I'm sorry. I mean, I shouldn't be talking, but that's just an ugly color combination. And this is just upsetting because I love looking at all the different costumes and how they match up with the different attractions. Mm-hmm. Even in Planet Coaster, I can change colors between attractions. Why can't Disney? That's it. I'm done.
Yeah, I made this comment on Twitter, and it might be a little harsh, but like if Disneyland is Walt's, and we sort of consider Epcot Marty Sklar's, and Joe Rohde sort of owns Animal Kingdom, I think Hollywood Studios is very much becoming Bob Chapek's. It's become beige washed and corporate, and it has no conceivable. Everything is interchangeable, and beyond, I guess, Galaxy's Edge, everything is very much like, oh, we can take this out and we can put something else in tomorrow, and no one would know that. I mean, literally, they're building a whole ride that they can do that with. So
that's the whole black box concept, yeah.
Right, and as someone who was at the 30th and saw them ignore 30 years of Hollywood Studios history so they could plug boring crap. This is not going to be the end of this sort of stuff when it comes to Hollywood Studios. Yeah. They are really, really beige. I keep saying beige wash because I think it's the best like verbiage.
It's a really good
it
term.
really is just they're literally painting over Muppet stuff with like solid colors. Like there's no way around it. It is going to be an interchangeable park. They can put a lot of stuff in and take a lot of stuff out anytime they want, and it's going to be very sad.
Pete, save us, please. Please tell me how this is good. Britt, make the happy.
All right, so here's my take. I'm not a big fan of them either. But if we're gonna find a silver lining, it's literally that silver lining around the neck of those uniforms, those reflective strips. It looks nice. Like, keep the cast members safe, and it's a silver lining. There it is. And just the thing, these guys can walk to their cars in safety, and cars will see them coming with those reflective tabs. And
that would make sense if they were working in the parking lot.
And you can now. This is a multi-universal uniform. You can go work on the tram.
This is a universal uniform. You just said it. Like this is something not a universal.
Universal uniform. Thank you very much. Ding, ding, ding.
The 6 Muppet Vision cast members died because of their lab coats not reflecting. So this is an alternative. Yeah. This will help a lot.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Allison.
Those hats are the douchiest hats I've ever seen, but I can understand the reason that they're wearing them, or some are choosing to wear them because they are optional, is because the rest of the uniform is so unbelievably unflattering. And I think that if you're going to make a generic uniform for 3/4 of the park, then at least let it be flattering for the poor cast members so that they don't have to wear a douchey hat to distract us all from the unflattering outfits they have to wear.
The poor hats look like the thing that I bought when I had to sing for the jazz band in high school. You know, it's that.
Yeah.
It's that
How long until
Walmart
these costumes
fedora.
take over Tower of Terror, though?
No. Why did you say that?
Hold your tongue.
Because
now
we
it's
need
out
to
there.
consider the future. We need to save it.
Gosh, no. Why?
Hashtag save the bellhops.
If only we
Hashtag
could
save the
answer-
fountain.
The bellhops?
Yeah, they're okay. I was looking for a transition
We
for
gotta
you.
come
The Leave a Legacy has leaved or left.
Goodbye.
Wow.
It's
Speaking of
gone.
things that
Left
should
a
not be
legacy.
saved.
But now they're working on that fountain up front. And I actually kind of like that, guys. Maybe I'm alone in that, but I thought it was good.
No,
Okay,
Great.
all right.
this is a
There
positive.
it is.
We did the very first Ride Rehab episode. The first thing we ever talked about was 1, get rid of these monoliths. 2, fix the fountain so people actually want to stop and take pictures in front of it. And Disney listened to us. That's the amazing thing. So I'm glad. Get rid of those things. Bring in planters. Let the
It
Muppets.
is the original. It's the OG fountain. It's the
What?
80.
Yes.
It's the 80s fountain. So yeah,
Like
Like,
that,
bring
that's
it
the,
on.
that's the one from the opening. That's been there since opening day. It's in the opening day
Correct.
special. They have everybody pouring water in from different countries, and now it's just gone.
no, I'm fine with this. Not the fountain. I mean that fountain. I mean the front fountain. That's
Yeah, the
fine.
front
That's from
fountain.
the 80s. Yeah, this is. I'm positive, Ben, not negative.
Not the Fountain of Nations, but yeah, I'm happy the front fountain's
Yeah.
coming back. I'm glad it's getting refurbed. Do it all at once now. I mean, we're going to need a pretty front when they just have a giant empty spaceship Earth that's under refurb for 2.5 years.
Yeah,
So I'm
right.
excited. I mean, they made it was. I was curious why they left the concrete pads with the lights around the old monoliths, but now it makes sense. They need a nice smooth walkway. They're not going to do anything else there until this entire other half is done. I think this is where we'll see the planters first, and some of the other elements come in. It's exciting. I like that they're redoing the front of Epcot. There's other things, obviously, in this Project Gamma that I am not happy about. So this is another positive thing for Pete Carney tonight. This is a dream show.
All right.
Pete, you and I have both experienced the open area, right? You've been over there. It's so much bigger than you think it would be. It's huge.
And
Another
crowd
tunnel.
flow is a lot better in the morning and in the evening.
Yeah.
So
Allison, I'm
this is
sorry.
obviously something they
Interrupted
needed to do.
That's how I remember Epcot the most. The monoliths to me are like a blip in history, and I'm super excited that my daughter will never experience that Epcot.
Mhm.
Is going to enter that park for the first time in a month and a half, the way it was supposed to be entered.
Preach.
That's fair.
Actually, that's not true. We might be coming in through the back entrance because we are staying at Boardwalk, and I'm super excited. But when she does see the front of the park,
Nobody likes a bragger.
Technicality, minor. Let's talk about booze, should we?
Yeah, let's go on to one more story. I just love the bottom text for this. Alcohol makes drinks better.
So they say.
So the alcoholic blue and green milk drinks are vastly improved from their non-alcoholic counterparts, according to our intrepid reporters who had the terrible task of going and ordering these. Side note, that looks like the most depressed cast member I've ever seen. Like, I'm sorry, but I have to call that out.
Imagine being in the 97-degree heat while everyone else is drinking cold milk with booze in it.
Alcohol
and you're
milk.
on your first hour and a half and you've lost 3 pounds of sweat.
That's
that
fair.
Looks like it's been raining too.
Yeah. But the price point on these is a bit higher. So I'll point that out. It's 14 for this instead of 8. But yeah, it's
it's fine.
That's too much. That's
I agree.
Can we talk about Galaxy's Edge's like this fake failure thing people are talking about? Because I have nothing else to say about Milky Booze.
That's fair. Does anybody else want to throw in anything on this before we drift in? Like too far off? Yeah, go for it.
I don't drink.
Oh, well, me either. But if I did, this is something I'd be looking forward to. Listen, Disney's... So this is I'll say real quick because I like Nathan's conversation better. But anyway, they're getting people to pay $7 or $8 for this milk anyway. Adding booze for an extra $6 is actually not terrible, especially if you're kind of getting used to the Disney pricing in general. And at Hollywood Studios, it's just become a boozy park. And almost too much even for my liking, which is crazy. There's now just like pop-up bars. You can get like double vodka sodas just to walk around with. It's completely a boozy park. So it doesn't shock me at all. They put alcohol in this. They can raise their price point. They can make a lot more money. They're going to put a shot in there and charge $6. It's good for Disney, I guess. As a stockholder, I guess I'm okay with it because people are going to pay it. I know I'm going to try it.
That's fair.
All right. I just wanted to talk a little bit about, I feel like the trend is continuing where people are calling Galaxy's Edge in general a failure, especially after the third quarter things that came out. And I think it's far too early to tell. I think I think we can all agree that Disney has completely botched the opening of both Galaxy's Edge. Edge-Eye? What do we call a plural of Galaxy's Edge? Edges. But I think that we can discuss how they botched that and didn't have Rise ready for either, and it's been terrible. But I would like to encourage people to not consider this a failure. No 10-year-old cures, they're not going to consider it a failure. No kid 15 years from now are going to consider it a failure because it's what they know. I think there's a lot of people bent out of shape about old Star Wars versus new Star Wars. I think boomers are frustrated. There's a weird generational shift about Galaxy's Edge. And not understanding that the parks are no longer for you and your kid eyes because you're an adult, and that the parks are now for your children and what they consume. So I don't know. It's an interesting conversation to be had, and I think that we will see Galaxy's Edge do just fine over the coming years, and it will be popular.
I agree 100% is that it's way too early to get on this hate train. And like I said, Bob Iger had a conversation this week where, talking about it, and he made a great point. It's way too early. And like, granted, maybe he said there was so much hype for this park between them. Even the hotels outside Disney parks were raising their prices so much. He admitted Disney raised their prices so much, and then they only opened it with one ride. I mean, So I think there was just so much hype. If they would have opened like a traditional land, I'm sure it would have been, the crowds would have been nuts. But it's so early. We're talking about it opened in. It's not even Labor Day. It opened Memorial Day. And
if you could pet corgis in Galaxy's Edge, it would have worked 100% better. More corgis in Galaxy's Edge. Please.
Bob Chapek needs a corgi therapy dog.
Oh my gosh.
I just want to kiss.
Well, if you and your corgi want to head down to Star Wars Land, we highly recommend you check out Never Grow Up Vacations, the official travel partner of WDWNT. Never Grow Up Vacations is an authorized Disney vacation planner whose focus is in making magic for their clients, and with over 20 years of experience booking Disney vacations, we're sure they can help you make your next trip even more magical. So head on over to wdwnt.travel to contact them about your next trip today. Thank you, folks, for joining us for another edition of ParksCenter. We really do appreciate you hanging out with us. If you are watching this live and would like to watch this later, youtube.com/WDWNT. We've got an archive of all our shows on there. You can also find us wherever fine podcasts are sold. Just search for ParksCenter. That's PARKS Center, all one word. If you are listening to this and would rather watch live, we do record live every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. Over at youtube.com, you can subscribe there and hit the bell, youtube.com/WDWNT. Get notified every time we go live, or check us out over at the WDWN Tunes. We are not having, let's see, what are we having? We are having a post show. That's what we're having, right. If you are a Wigs member, stay tuned after the show for the post show, like usual. If not, you can head on over to patreon.com/WDWNT to become a Wigs member or WDWNT Interglobe Society member. For as little as $2 a month, you can get access to our post shows, the post shows for News Tonight, and a whole host of other perks. If you head on over there and check it out, you can find out more. That is going to do it for this week's show at this point. We will be here for the post show if you're sticking around for that. Otherwise, we will see you all next week.
See ya! Thanks for watching! What's up, Moogle? What's up, Manny? What's up, David? What's up, Dylan? What's up, Pink Pearl? What's up, Concrete? What's up, Jared? What's up?